Hello and welcome to EdTech Lunch and Learn Live. My name is Joe Valver. I'm one of the technology facilitators for the Hamilton Township School District in Hamilton, New Jersey. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me today. On today's topic, Google Hangouts and Meet for remote learning. With me today, I've got Cara and Chris, the other two tech facilitators. They are managing our chat. So on the side, if you see their names pop up, they'll be responding to any questions you might have in regards to today's session. On my end, I will be handling a lot of the facilitation as well as the back end, switching over to the different cameras and on screen. So bear with me. We had this planned out ahead of time. Before we went remote, it was going to be 3 of us in one room. We're doing the best we can with what we got. So bear with me. Worst case scenario, I see a bunch of people already chatting. So if anything, this brought a bunch of people together to say hi. So before I go any further, a couple housekeeping notes. Anybody looking to get PD credit for this course, Kara's going to be posting a Google form in the chat in a little bit in which you'll go through, fill it out, and that's how we're going to get kind of like a check-in count that you were here. Then later on at the end of the show, she's going to post another link for you guys to go and fill out. And that's kind of your, I stayed and I checked out. And that's how we're going to go about giving you your credit for today's PD session. We'll see if it works. And if not, we'll find something that works a little better for the future. Speaking of the future, this is our first time doing this. We've got about a week's worth already planned for you. Tomorrow we'll be doing a Screencastify, same exact time. So if you're interested, the schedule has been posted on My Learning Plan for anyone in Hamilton Township School District. You can go on there and sign up for our future events. As I mentioned, we've got Screencastify up tomorrow and then a number of different EdTech tools for you to use during remote learning and when we get back into school for you to use then as well. Next, if anything happens with today's session, if we drop out, this is being recorded. The recorded session will be posted on our YouTube channel for you to go watch, or if anybody else might have missed this episode, to go back and watch at a later time. And I'm getting a phone call. It's not Cara, so that means things are going well. Okay, so moving right along, let me pull up my screen here. Bear with me. Pop that in here. I'm going to pop that out and we'll see what happens. Voila. All right. So hopefully, I can't see it because now I'm on my screen. What you guys can see is my slideshow for today's workshop. My down here in the bottom right corner. Today's session, as I had mentioned, is Google Hangouts and Meet for remote learning. Whoops, go back a couple here. There we go. This session, this PD slideshow. Hey, what's going on, Cara? Cara, can't hear you. Okay. That was Cara. She asked that I make sure everybody check in on that form. She's going to post it again. And that from this point on, I would ask that everybody for the chat, for the most part, kind of go a little silent so that you can see that form that Kara's posting, as well as have any questions posted so that Chris and Cara can answer these questions. I was going to get to expectations in a little bit, but I probably should have set them a little sooner. So we're moving right along, and I already see that Ismat's in the slideshow. Thank you. Someone's got it already. So that URL in the top corner there, that's for you to get to today's show's presentation. In this presentation are a lot of links to other resources that I will touch on throughout the show, as well as videos and guides to help you with some of the things that I'm talking about. So today's session is simple. We're going to talk about some of the ways that you can utilize video while remote learning, specifically how you and your students can access Google Meet and Google Hangouts. We're going to learn some of the ways for you to set up these applications as well as utilize the tools and features in both of them. So, what are some of the ways that you can use video while remote learning? So you can use it a number of different ways. We can use it as just a quick announcement, just to say hi to your students, let them know that you're thinking about them, check in on them. You can use it to post announcements or give instructions for assignments and lessons. You can do entire lessons through video, okay? There are a number of different ways that you can utilize video to present yourself as well as your screen, so that students can see what you're saying, see you, as well as see what you're talking about, okay? In addition to that, students can use video themselves as a form of assessment for some of the assignments and lessons that you guys are doing remotely, okay? So there are a number of different types of video and ways we can use video when we're doing remote learning or when we're even in the classroom for flipped classrooms and things like that. Two of the things that I want to talk about first are obviously live, like we are right now, in which it's a little delay here between what you're seeing and what I'm doing with YouTube, but you're live. There's a give and take here, whether it be video to video or through a video and a side chat. Okay. The other option would be recorded. You may have recorded a video ahead of time using something like Screencastify or using Google Meet just to record yourself and posting it for your students to see. Okay. A lot of live options like YouTube and Meet and Zoom have the option to go live and record that live session for watch and review later on. Okay. So those are two kind of things to consider when we're talking about video. The other is conference versus broadcast. Okay. When we do a conference call, there's a video on both ends. I'm looking at someone, they're looking at me, and we have a give and take. Okay. They might see my screen, they might see me, and I might see them or see their screen. There's audio involved. We can communicate back and forth. Whereas with a broadcast, in which I'm doing right now, it's just one video feed out to many. Okay. So there's no video back and forth. I can't see any of you. I'm just sending my signal, my video signal out for everybody to view. And one of the benefits to doing something like a broadcast is I don't have to worry about any interference of other people's microphones or their videos kind of cutting in or overtaking mine. I don't have to worry about muting people. Okay. One of the benefits of doing a broadcast, if I look down here, it looks like our channel is up to almost 200 people right now. Okay. I can have as many people tune into this YouTube broadcast as I see fit. And so we plugged this on online. We gave options for a lot of different people to come in and watch and see what we're talking about today. When you're using conferencing apps like Zoom and Meet and Hangouts, you're often limited to a number of participants. Okay, so that's another big consideration when we talk about conferencing and broadcasting. Okay? And then the other, how I mentioned a little bit here and there, is on camera versus your screen. Right now, with using YouTube as well as a program called Stage 10, I'm able to give you a little bit of both. So you're getting my screen as well as a video thumbnail of me in the bottom corner, okay? And depending on what you go for, you're going to figure out which one is most impactful for your students. And we'll give it a second. There we go. So let's talk a little bit about tools of the trade and what goes into creating these videos. Okay, so today we're going to talk about Google Hangouts and Google Meet, obviously. But there are a number of different applications that can be used, some which we'll go over in the next week, and some which I just have on here that are great to use for you and your students. Okay, and all of these video apps and sites will help you communicate with your students as well as your students communicate with you. So that's kind of where it starts, figuring out what tool is going to work best for you in the particular situation you're in. Are you just meeting with staff members? Are you meeting with parents? Are you meeting one-on-one? Are you trying to display a lesson? All these questions are going to help you figure out which one of these apps or sites will work best for you. Okay? And it's going to be different for everybody. Equipment. Everybody who wants to do a video is going to need two things: a camera and a microphone. Okay? Now, after that, there's a lot of things that come into play that might help your video quality a little bit better. Okay? And one of those things is internet connection. We need internet connection to obviously upload our recorded videos to either Google Classroom or to YouTube, but we also need that if we go live. Okay? One of the ways you can kind of improve that signal is, one, make sure there's not a lot of people using your bandwidth in your household when you're going to do a video. Okay? Two is, if it's possible, connect with a Cat5 or Ethernet cable. Okay? Although Wi-Fi is very convenient when you're doing things like a live stream, having that hard wire plugged into your computer will offer you a much more reliable signal to help boost that, prevent that lag and boost that performance of your live stream. Okay. Some other things to consider: having maybe lights, editing software for those recorded videos, and if you're going to do something like we are today with a YouTube live video, there is some encoding software or website tools required to kind of create that live broadcast. And we'll touch on that encoder software and some of that editing software when we talk about YouTube next week. So let's talk about some of the tips and tricks, at least the 7 tips and tricks that I find will help you be successful with creating these videos. One of the things, and probably the most important thing to start off your broadcast, is be mindful of your surroundings. Okay? So right over my 2 shoulders, I'm in my dining room. My wife's in our office because she's working remotely as well, and I got the luxurious dining room. There are 2 windows. Sitting in front of a window that's open with light, sunshine coming through is going to give you that kind of, I'm on America's Most Wanted shows and I'm giving a witness testimony and I don't want my face to be seen. Okay? Your students aren't going to see, or your audience, they're not going to be able to see your face. Okay? So whether it's a window or even just a light, you want to make sure that behind you, there's not that much light coming forward. You want that light to be in front of you so that people can see your face. Okay. Other things to be mindful of are windows being open, sounds of traffic, neighbors coming up and poking in your window, seeing what you're up to. Okay. Number 2, giving directions. Okay. For you, this might be your first time, and for your students, this might be their first time. So having directions for your students and parents to follow along with, whether it's how to get into whatever video app you're using, how to go to a site to see the video that you're posting, whatever it is, having a list of directions for them to follow is going to make it that much easier. A lot of the emails that we're getting since this past week are, I'm having issues getting my students on. I have 1 student that is able to and 2 that can sometimes. Having directions kind of makes that part of the process a little bit easier. And with that direction, I have some posted at the end there for resources I put together for Google Meet for you guys to have student directions. I'll show you that later. Setting expectations. So when you start that video, be sure to set clear expectations. Does everybody need to mute their microphone? Are we participating and asking questions through the chat like we are today? Okay. If you want them to ask a question, like in Zoom, is there a raise the hand button that they can do? Okay, setting those expectations up front of what you want from your students during that video, whether it's live or recorded, is key. Just like setting those expectations in the classroom. Okay. As I just mentioned, using that chat option for questions. When you have a large number of students, if you're conducting a lesson and everyone's trying to talk at once, it can be a little overwhelming. Even with just 3 or 4 people in one chat, it can oftentimes be overwhelming. So capitalizing on those chat features is going to be key to managing that group on a video call. Okay. I mentioned it earlier, one of the big things, record, archive, and share when possible. So when you're doing a video, if it's live, see if you can record it, okay? Record it, save it, and share it. Whether it's saving it to Drive, whether it's saving it into YouTube, posting it for other people to see. One of the big things in this current situation that we are finding ourselves in is not only are teachers at home, students are home, parents are home, families are home, and not everybody in a family is going to have a device. So when you are able to do a live video, not everybody in your group might be able to join you. So making sure that when you choose to go live, that record is an option and you have some place to share that video afterwards so that those students, those faculty members that aren't able to attend live still have the ability to go back and watch and get that information that you're sharing with them, okay? The other one is fun. Let your that is going to make this whole experience a little bit more swallowable. See, and there's my personality right there. Make it a little more palatable for everyone, okay? And I think one of the examples that I've loved seeing is on Twitter during this Spirit Week, and everybody's participating and coming together and sharing their experiences from home. And I think if you bring some of that into your videos, that's going to help connect and kind of ease that stress and that tension with your staff or students who you're communicating with. So for instance, I'm wearing my Eagles hat again, even though I know that the school district is probably split right down the middle, but the smart fans are Eagles fans and they'll appreciate this. So yes, that is a dig at you Giants fans. The last one is prepare for the unexpected. As I mentioned before we got started, if things dropped out, we'd keep going, and this would be recorded for you to be able to go back and watch later, okay? The signing in, things don't always go as you planned. Kind of have a backup, okay? So again, and this broadcast drops, bandwidth, whatever the reason may be, YouTube and Google takes a giant crash, we're going to record it and it'll be posted on YouTube for you to watch later, okay? So the two apps we're going to talk about today are Hangouts and Meet. Both are part of the G Suite, Google for Education application suite. Okay, they're both available to all of our staff members as well as now our students. We turned that on last week when we realized that this was going to be a huge tool for our staff and our teachers to communicate with our students. Okay, so we look over here at Hangouts. Hangouts has, I'm just going to mute that real fast. Hangouts is kind of like that AOL Instant Messenger feature of Google. Back when AOL Instant Messenger was a thing, and not all of you might know about it, but it was a thing. You can kind of text one another, and then you can also go into video calls, okay? With Hangouts, you're really limited to only 10 people in that call, and a Google account is required. Okay. In here, you'll see that I have some links here for you to get the apps, as well as a Help Center link so you can find out more about this app afterwards. Okay. The chatting part itself, as I mentioned, like AOL Instant Messenger, you can see goes up to 150, but that video portion of it, when you're on a video call, which we'll do in a little bit, is limited to just 10. Whereas Meet on the other side, which is sometimes referred to as Hangouts Meet, which can be very confusing, has a much larger threshold for participants. So you can see group calls up to 100. Okay. Recently, in a support this remote learning that everybody in the country is faced with, Google went and increased that limit. You see down there, 250 max for Google Meet. This is great for, obviously, we don't worry about classrooms and things like that. But for administration that might want to connect with entire grade bands or do some sort of assemblies and things like that, this is going to help with having those kinds of broadcasts. Okay, and again, one of the nice things, here's our help center and links to download these apps or get to them. But with Meet, there is no Google account required. You can just pop in, and we'll talk about the different ways you can pop into those. Okay, so now that I've gotten all of that kind of house cleaning information out of the way, let's get into the tools, the features to access these applications. Okay, so bear with me because it's going to require a little switching around here on my end. I'm going to get rid of myself here, so it'll just be my voice. I'm going to make my screen full so you can see everything I'm doing, and we'll see how this works. We're going to do a little bit of like a video within video within a video, because I'm here and I'm going to do a hangout with Chris and Cara. So fingers crossed that this all works out. Okay. When I originally thought about doing this, I thought, oh yeah, we'll get 10, 20 people, they'll come on and they'll love this. It'll be great for them. I did not expect over 200 people to join. So, yay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Hangouts. All right. Right now I'm using the Tech Facilitator account and I'm popping into Gmail here. In the bottom right corner here of Gmail, you'll notice a little silhouette, a quotation and a speech bubble, and a phone. Okay, that's where you can get to Hangouts. Okay. If I click on it, you might not see it. I click on the little speech bubble again, and there it is. And you can see people that we've been sending Hangouts to. Okay. Within here, I can click on this drop-down arrow, and I can leave a message if I want for people that try and send contact, see what I'm up to, kind of your status. And I'm Triple L. So it's a great alliteration name, but it's a mouthful. I can let people see when I'm available. See, now I got that little green dot. So if someone was going to send me a message, I can see that Amy is available, and so is Sarah. Okay. There's Alejandro. Okay. So I can see from my recent messages who's available, and that's what I'm doing right now by checking that off. And if I want, I could show my device. And then there's some options for notifications. As you might have heard earlier, there was a little bling, bling, bling going off in the background, and that was my notifications for Hangout letting me know people might have been sending me some messages. Okay. So I'm going to pop out of that drop down. I'm done. I'm just going to click off to the side. If I wanted to pick up a chat with any of these, I could click on their name and my chat would pop up. So here's Kelly. We were chatting the other night. Okay, we were just talking about laptops being handed out and what the procedure was going to look like with that. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually create a new one here. I'm going to hit this plus icon, and the nice thing about having Hangouts in here is you can check your emails as well, and you can see we have a bunch of them coming in already. So I'm going to pick a couple people, and you can see you've got some recents here, or you can just start typing in names. Okay? Just like we would when we're sharing a document, when we're composing an email, you start typing in a name, you start typing in an email, those options are going to come up. There's Cara. I don't know what we were chatting about the last time we were chatting. Apparently, I'm going to add now someone to this group because I want to make a group chat. I click this little plus icon and I'm going to add Chris. And I'm going to say create this group. Okay. I don't need this chat any longer. I can close that. From this plus hour, you see I could have created that group just the same by clicking new group and putting both of their names. So it depends on whether you're looking to chat with one person or more than one person. Okay. I'm going to send them a quick message. go. Now they're going to get this message, and they'll get this message in their Gmail tab if it's open, just like I have it here. And there's Chris. He's responding to me right away. Okay. Excellent. And there's Cara too. So this is one way for me to get into Google Hangouts. And oh, thank you, Chris. You're too kind. One of the things that I can do with this is I can actually increase the size. So if I want it to be a little bigger, I could. Okay. You can see I can attach pictures. I can paste links into here. If, hey, there's a document I want you guys to look at. Hey, here's the slideshow. Copy. Here's the link to it. Just in case no one got it, here it is. You can take a look at it. And they can click on that link and get access to it right now. So outside of the video, the chat feature alone is really useful to just get quick Q&As, conversations going, sharing links, okay, as well as funny pictures, which I think earlier that might have been Martha Washington with sunglasses. I'm not too sure. But you'll notice up here is a video icon as well for you to start a video call. Now, I'm not going to use that just yet because I want to show you another way to get to Hangouts. Okay, so if we go up to the top of the screen here, app launcher, or what a lot of us refer to as the waffle. Oh, let me minimize this. You'll see a list of Google apps that you have access to, and in that list, and your list may look a little different, rearranged. You can move these around based off of kind of what you see the most important, putting at the top. We can click on Hangouts right here. And now Hangouts actually opens up in its own window, and it's a little bit larger. So depending on the situation, you might want to use one or the other. It's nice to be in email, to be able to check emails, but you might want a full screen dedication. I'm actually going to click on my conversation that I had with Chris and Cara, and again, pops up, looks exactly the same. Okay. One thing to note, and I put it in that one slide, Google Hangouts can be downloaded for Android and iOS, so iPhones and Google phones, and used just the same as I'm using in app form. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on this video button and start a video call with Chris and Cara. And there's a little ring, and up here in the top it's saying, do I want to use my microphone? I do. I'm back. Here I am. And we'll see if we can't get these two guys on the call. I'm sure they're busy answering your questions. Hopefully there's not too many questions. Oh, and there's Cara. Cara, say hello to everybody. Oh, and there's Chris with his Ozobot shirt. Why don't you guys say hello to everybody at home?
Hello, everyone at home.
Hi, everyone at home.
So one of the things that you might notice right off the bat when it comes to, I'm going to ask you guys to mute just real fast your speakers there for feedback, is that as we're talking, that camera's flipping back and forth to who's speaking and who's that kind of, we'll call that spotlight on. Okay. In this app, I can mute so that no one can hear me. I can. Chris, is that your speaker, Chris? Can you mute your speaker there? I'm getting a little bit of feedback there. There we go. Beautiful. So I can turn my camera off. There we go. I can mute my microphone so they can't hear me. But over here on the left, I also have a little chat bubble. Okay. And I can utilize that throughout the Hangout if I wanted to keep things, again, focused on one person. Okay. Over here at the right, I have little thumbnails. I can click on each person that's in the Hangout. Looks like Cara might have bounced out at some point. I can see that Chris's mic is now muted. He's got a little mute icon. And again, when I do it for me, that little mute icon shows up. That lets me know that they're muted. I can pick who I want to see. Okay. And that might help in a meeting setting if you want to control who you're looking at. In the top right corner here, we've got some other options as well. Okay. I can add other people to this call. I can copy the link and share it with somebody if I wanted to. So if I wanted to get somebody in, I just start typing their name, and there's Jim. Okay, the four of us have been on a lot of calls this week, and I can add him to the call, just like I did earlier when adding Chris to the message with Cara. Okay. Up here, we also have a little gear. The gear has to do with bandwidth. Okay, so what kind of quality signal are you sending out? High def, standard def. High def does use up a little more bandwidth and will be a little more laggy. Okay. In addition to that, what kind of camera are you using? Do you have a camera? Do you have some teachers still took their ladybugs with them? The ladybug cameras, when plugged in, can be used as a webcam. You might even have an external webcam hooked up as well that you can use. This is where you would choose that. Okay. Same thing with microphone. If you had headphones on that had a mic, AirPods with mic, you can choose that right here. Okay. And you can even test your speakers. Okay. Next to our gear are the three dots, or we call it the snowman. Everything has a nickname when it comes to Google, if you didn't know that. And one of the important tools in this snowman is the very first one, called Share Screen. Okay. And I'm going to click on that. And when you click on that, it says, all right, what would you like to share? Your entire screen or just your application window? If I share my entire screen, that'll show my desktop icons, whatever's on my computer. Whoever's participating in this group chat is going to see that. Okay, so that's key to remember. If I choose just the application, they're only going to see what's in that application. In this case, I only have Chrome open right now, so they're only going to see in Chrome. If I minimize Chrome, they're not going to see my desktop and all the pictures that I might have saved of my kids on my desktop, just the stuff in this particular application. In this case, it's Chrome. I'm going to do my entire screen here. When you do that, you kind of click on the icon or preview of that window, and you hit share. Okay. Now you get kind of this whoa effect, because it's a screen within a screen within a screen. Okay. Not too much different than Inception. But once I switch to, let's say, our presentation, okay, that kind of effect goes away, and whoever's watching it on the other side will see just my screen. Okay. Down at the bottom, you'll also notice that there's a little window that popped up that's saying Hangouts is using your screen, basically, and you can either hit stop sharing from there, or you can hit the hide button to hide that in case you want access to the whole screen. I don't think it bothers me that much, so I'm going to leave it there for the time being. But you'll see I can bounce through these different things, and Chris and Cara, whoever's participating, sees this from home or from their camera. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And I'm going to pop back into that call. There it is. A lot of tabs on the top. We're going to go back up to those three dots, because the only two other things I really want to show you here are the option to go full screen if you wanted to, which is nice. It takes up the whole screen. There's no distractions here, okay? Especially if you have that full 10 people in here. Those icons appeared along the bottom. And the other option, again, is to get to that chat, which is down here in the bottom left corner as well. So 2 ways to get to the chat, whichever one works best for you. Okay. I had mentioned already the mute button as well as the camera button. In the middle, obviously the end call button. So we're going to go ahead and end this call right now. And we're going to pop back into our message, and I'm just going to let them know what's coming up. And what's coming up is Google Meet. Okay, so that is Hangouts. Hopefully, if you had any questions, Karen and Chris are getting those answered. If not, feel free to send us an email, and we'll get to you shortly after the show. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get to Meet. And there's 2 ways to get to Meet, just as there's 2 ways to get to Hangouts when you're on a computer. Okay. The first one that I'm going to bring up here is, again, going back to that waffle icon, and you may have saw it earlier. Meet has its own button right here, okay? If I click on Meet there, I can join or start a meeting right from here. And you can see I have nothing scheduled for today, and we'll talk about that in a second, okay? So if I wanted to join or start a meeting, I'd give it the name, hit continue, and the next screen that pops up, very similar to what we saw in Hangouts, is we've got some notifications up here. Do you want to allow notifications? We can see the preview of our camera and microphone. Do we want to go into this call with either one of those, both of them off? Okay, there's our little snowman. We could even go in and set up some settings very similar to how we had settings for video and audio in Hangouts in case you have other inputs coming in, okay? One of the other things that you might have noticed right there off the bat is turn on captions. So I'm going to turn that on real fast, and I'm going to join this test Google Meet that I have. Right next to this, I also have the option to present. If you wanted to go right into the Hangout without your screen up and you wanted to have your best. Perfect, allow, and now we go. Okay, now that I'm in my test, I can see that I've got some joining information. I can copy this information. I can add people just like I did with Hangouts before, okay? One of the nice things about Google Meet is, in addition to being able to join a computer and through the application itself, if I come back down here to the bottom left corner, I can pull that information, that join information, back up at any point in time, okay? Here's the details, and I can see that there's actually a phone number and a PIN for participants to call in, and that PIN conference call in. So although they might not have the benefit of actually seeing you, they can still at least listen in, okay? And that can be great for just a quick meeting. Attachments, you'll see, is also an option. We'll talk about that in a little bit, okay? So I'm in Meet now. It looks very similar to Hangouts. You've got your mute button. You've got your disable your camera, your end call option. We can turn captions on. I'm going to turn that on real fast, and there it is, okay? So this is a nice option that Google rolled out within the last year, I want to say. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. But it can help those that are hearing impaired, okay? It's pretty accurate. If you've used Siri at all, you know there's a few hiccups here and there, but it's a nice option that you have, okay? I'm going to turn that off right now. We can see that present button again that allows me to present either my entire screen or window, very similar to Hangouts where we had the option to present entire screen or application. That's right down here, okay? Here's our little snowman, okay? With our snowman, we have the options, a couple different options here. The first one being record meeting, okay? So right now I'm in this meet all by myself. There's nobody else. I can share my screen. I can do whatever I want, and I can hit this record button, okay? So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, I want to do a pre-recorded video. I want to have my face on the screen. I want to be able to record my screen as well because I maybe have lessons up, or I have a digital dry erase board that I'm going to use, such as Jamboard. But I don't know what kind of application I can use that will record all of that. Well, Google Meet will record it with just you. You don't need to have other people involved to be able to do this. And the nice thing about hitting record in a Google Meet is all of these recordings go straight to your Google Drive. Okay? From there, you can post it into Classroom, download it, throw it onto YouTube, whatever you want to do. All right? So Google Meet, again, first thought, conferencing, but it can be used to record yourself and your screen for however long you want. There's no limit to that, okay? And then again, that video goes right into your drive for you to be able to share with your students, your staff, whoever you might want to access this video, okay? Change layout full screen. I'm going to show you some of those options in a little bit once I get Chris and Cara on here, okay? A lot of talking. So I'm going to hit end real fast here. I'm going to show you the other way for you to access Meet. I don't want to rejoin. Now that I'm seeing this rejoin option, it makes me think of one of the questions that we've been asked a lot lately. And that question being, I'm going to pop in the calendars while I'm talking here. Calendars is the other place we can start a Meet. I'll move that over. As I mentioned, one of the questions that we've been getting asked a lot of lately is when I have my students, my staff in a Hangout, Google Meet, whatever the case may be, and I leave, what happens to that conference call? The answer is they're all still in there, okay? Even though you're set as the moderator, that Meet continues to live on. And those students, those participants, whoever might be in it, can still carry on conversations with themselves, all right? And this could be troubling for some. So really the only thing that you can do, and again, it goes back to one of those first slides that we talked about, was setting expectations. Hey guys, that's all I have today. If you don't have any questions, I'd like for each one of you guys to just end this call for me, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks. And wait for each one of them to back out of that call until you end the call. Okay? So that's kind of how you can keep track of that. As I mentioned, you leave, they're still in there. There's nothing we can do to control that. And then there's nothing that we can really do to control from them creating their own Hangouts with one another or Meet sessions. When we turn this on, they have the capabilities to do everything you can. Okay? So setting those expectations from the beginning is crucial to having successful broadcasts and conferences with your students using these applications. So, other way to create Meet. I'm in Google Calendar here. I'm going to create an event. What time do we have right now? It is 2:59. I'm going to create an event. I'm going to click here. EdTech Lunch and Learn Live. Meet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit more options. And the time I'm not too worried about. I'm going to leave that for 3. And down here, next to the little camera option, there is the option to add conferencing. And when I click on that drop down, the only option there is Hangout Meet. So I'm going to do that. Okay. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to attach a file here. And there we go. I'll attach this video. I think that was for forwarding voicemail. And then maybe I want to add, we'll grab this link again since I have it ready, to the description. Okay. This is a great way to give resources to your staff or your students prior to coming in to a conference call. Okay. So now I say I've got my date and time for my conference call. I've got Meet turned on. Okay. I've got some attachments and resources, links for them to look at ahead of time. Maybe I want to leave a message. I can do that if I wanted to. Drop down here to the bottom. Obviously, you'd probably put it at the top. Okay. Now the next thing I want to do, I want to add people. So I'm going to go get Chris and Cara again here. And Chris and Cara. And then everything looks good to me. I'm going to hit save. When I do that, it says, would you like to send invitations via email to these guests? Okay. Now for students in elementary levels, they don't have emails. So that can pose a problem. So I'll show you what they can do in a second. Okay. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and hit send because I want Chris and Cara to get this email that's letting them know to come to this event. I hit send. I have things attached. Do I want to share it with them? Yep. And I say invite. Here's my event right here. Okay. When I click on it, I can see the option to join the Hangout from my computer, as well as a way to call in from a phone. Okay. And everybody on my guest list here, which is just Cara and Chris at the moment, can see the same exact thing, okay? So I had mentioned that students in elementary schools won't get that email because they don't have access to email just yet. If they come into their calendar, they will see that event there. The other option for them is if they go into Meet, and I'm going to return to home screen here, any events that they have been invited to will also show up on this Meet screen. So before, when I came in here, I only had the option to join or start a meeting. Now when I'm in here, I can actually join this calendar event Meet that I created. And in a sense, a teacher or administrator might have created. So when Google Meets are created from calendars, you can get to that Meet from your email. If there's an email invitation, you can get to it from the event itself by clicking on the link, or you can go to Meet through the waffle and find your scheduled Google Meets here as well. All three will do the same exact thing, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hop in this now. So even though the time was set for 3, open for the day here, and I'm gonna jump in, and here's our same screen again. Okay, we're gonna hit allow, yes, yes. Oh, and look, I can see that Chris is already in the call waiting for me, and that's shown right over here. So I'm gonna hit join now, and there he is again. Hey Chris, how we doing? And he's still got his mic and speaker muted, perfect. So the other few features that I wanted to show you that I didn't get a chance to show you earlier, here's that chat option and a people option, okay? One of the things about Google Meet is when you organize that Meet, you have the option to mute people. Chris, if you could unmute yourself for me real fast, if you can hear me. Oh, and he's sending me a message. Hey, Chris. If his speakers are muted, I'm gonna ask him to unmute himself. And when I click on Chris's drop-down arrow right here, what you'll notice is I have a couple options. One being a thumbtack. There we go. Thanks, Chris. One is a thumbtack so that I can see just Chris. If there was a lot of other people in, this is, again, how you focus on that person. If I didn't want to hear Chris, as the moderator or creator, I can click this mute button and say mute. And now his microphone is muted, okay? This is a feature that Google just rolled out for this situation we all found ourselves in with remote learning. Prior to that, anybody could kind of mute anybody, and then the other button here is the option to remove anybody, okay? Anybody could do that. Recently, now, if you create the event or you create the Meet, you're the only one that kind of moderates those two features or tools in Google Meet, and that's a huge benefit for all of us that are teaching these online courses and lessons with a large group of people to be able to do that, okay? Now I'm gonna come back down here to the 3 dots and I'm gonna show you one other tool since I still have Chris here, and that's change layout, okay? I can choose to have a spotlight option, which is what I'm on now, or I can choose, and I don't have anybody else, so it's not really doing anything, but if Cara was in this call, you'd see it kind of switch over between the views, and you can kind of change the layout of these cameras. So what I'm gonna do real fast before Chris gets out of here and gets back to answering these messages, oops, didn't mean to click on me, is I'm gonna click on this drop-down arrow and I'm just gonna click remove Chris. And it's gonna ask me, are you sure you wanna remove him? I hit remove, and he's gone from that call, okay? So earlier on, we were talking about does the broadcast continue, or does the chat continue after I leave and my students are still in there? Here's a way that in Meet, when using Google Meet, you can kind of remove everybody so that you know that when you're the last person in and you leave, everybody else is gone as well, okay? Let me just check my list of things because we went over so much today. It looks like I touched on everything. I am going to pop back in here and we'll see how this works. Beautiful, that's what I want. Switch that on. So wrapping up things, on slide 8 are a number of resources for cheat sheets for you, quick start guides for you to be able to create these Meet sessions to learn about Google Hangouts. I had mentioned earlier on, directions are key for students and parents that have never done this before. I put together a PDF for you. It just kind of outlines the steps for students to go through joining a Google Meet, whether they're on a computer, okay, or on an iPhone, a tablet or a smartphone. Okay, and this is should be set up for view for anybody so that you can share this with your students, download it, send it out however you would like. I will also add underneath there the Google slide that I used to create this as well, so that this way if you want to make modifications or change things, add your own spin on it, you can do that as well. Okay. I am also working on a similar document for you teachers to kind of go over everything that I just explained in this video in a nice quick guide for you to do. Before we get out of here, again, few house cleaning up things to do. These are some people that I follow. My top 3 stars, we don't have any sports, so the Flyers were doing really well. Now, no hockey, shocker, that's the way it works. But my top 3 stars here, as far as EdTech goes, Eric Kurtz, Matt Miller, Casey Bell, and then I have a few others there that are really good with posting stuff about video content. Bruce Riker is one of them. He's from New Jersey. And then Google for EDU is always a good one to follow. They're posting those updates so that you can find out, oh yeah, wow, they upped the viewing number to 250. Okay. Outside of that, I'm going to ask Cara at this point, could you post that second form up for everybody? And I'm looking over here because I see the chat, but I'm supposed to be looking here because this is where you are. Could you post that that form up for everybody to fill out again to get the PD credit? One of the things that I think Cara, myself, and Chris have been talking about all this time is how amazed we are at how quickly all of our teachers have been able to jump in and adapt and provide quality education for our students remotely. And part of that, hopefully, has come from us, and we've been here for you to support you. And one of the things that we want to let you to know, and doing today, starting with Google, is that everything you can do can be done with Google. Okay, there are applications that support video, support creating content for your students. You can use Google Sites, okay, Google Slides to make guides like I just did, worksheets, Google Forms, Google Classroom. Google has given you every tool you need to be successful. Okay, so instead of getting overwhelmed and getting stressed out about some of the application and all these cool things that you're seeing out there, keep it simple. Okay? Google is something that we have and have it for a reason. It's something that Cara, Chris, and myself have worked extremely hard to make sure we know all the capabilities and features of all the tools so we can support you using it. So before we go, again, if you have any questions at all, our contact information is on that last slide. Going through the list here. Emails, there are links on here. You can actually click on them. It'll create a direct link to us. I will add the guide to create those buttons so that students and parents, you can put that little button right on, and I'm going to do it for Cara here. Show you what it looks like. I click on that button, and it takes me right into Hangouts with a message to Cara once it pulls up here. And there's Martha Washington again. Okay, so that's, can you review how elementary teachers can share links with their students? I think I covered that. I think that's what she's referring to. Hopefully it is. If not, I'll just reiterate it. You can put links into those chat messages on Hangouts and Meet, in addition to just typing messages as well. So if there's a link that you want them to go to, you can put that in there and they can get to it there. Okay. Again, any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is here. Thank you for joining us for our first episode of EdTech Lunch and Learn Live. I am Joe Valver, your host today. Please come back tomorrow, same exact time. will teach us a little bit about using the application Screencastify. And I had a really good outro there, and I had to jump back to this camera angle here to switch it all over. And we'll try it, and we're going, and that's a wrap.